All right, so for today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Knipex 9778-180 Ferrule Crimper. Now, this isn't a very common tool that you would see here in the States. We don't typically use a lot of ferrule style of crimpers here in the States. We generally use spades, slides, knives, and ring terminals. So you would mainly see this over Europe and the UK. But I was able to track a pair of these down and got them to add to my ever-growing insulated plier collection from Knipex. So it's not going to, in my ever quest to have it complete, I had to track a set of these down. So here we are. So here are the Ferrule Crimpers. Now this is the model number, like I said in the beginning of the video, which is 9778-180. And this is for crimping ferrules, whether it has an end sleeve or not. This guy will be able to crimp them. So they are able to crimp all these different gauges of wire, but for us here in the States, it goes from 23 gauge to 5 gauge wire. And then on the bottom, you have some of the ratings that the tool went through to prove that these handles are insulated and can withstand up to 1,000 volts. And I believe, like I've said before in the past, these are tested up to 10,000 volts and are rated for 1,000 volts. And this specific pair of pliers was made in 2024. You generally see a year for when the tool was produced on the on insulated tools, just so you know how old the tool is. That is, like I said, that is something that is pretty common on insulated tools. And being Knipex, this is made in Germany, so you're going to have that on quite a few different places. You're going to have it here on the handle, and then you're also going to have it here on the inside of the handle. And then you have some more of the certifications and tests that the tool went through on both sides of the handle. And then you're also going to have made in Germany laser etched onto the surface on the front of the plier. And then you have the Knipex name, which is, I believe, stamped into the it's either stamped or part of the mold for when they cast these pliers, or for when they, I should say, when they forged these pliers. And then, like most of the insulated pliers, they kind of have these nubs, which kind of is basically your warning, like, hey, don't stick your hands or, you know, anything you don't want to get shocked above these guys. And then you have the 1,000 volt rating there on the handles. And then coming up to the business end of the tool, you have a nice finish on the front of it. You can almost kind of see like the milling marks or the grinding marks from when they've polished and or finished the tool. And then here's all your different sizes you can crimp from. So I believe this is going to be your largest one, so your 6, and your 8 would probably go there, and then this is going to be like your 10 gauge wire, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and then 23 as you go up. I can't say I've ever worked with 23 gauge wire, but hey, if you are working with something that small, these should be able to crimp that down. As you see on the top, if we can get the camera to focus in on the top of the tool. Kind of hard when these are very shiny, but you do have a fairly small crimping position there on the back. So that is pretty much it for the detail. Now, one thing I've started to notice about some of these newer Knipex pliers, especially the ones that are made in 2024, is they no longer are including the one barcode that they like to pad print onto the handle. I'm not sure if that is something new for them, or maybe they do it on certain pliers, whereas other pliers they don't do that. So I'll go ahead and zoom out here and get to some of the functionality. Now, these aren't the loosest pliers by any means, but then again, they are a pair of crimpers, so they probably is like that by design. And if you do use these over time, you can probably end up loosening these guys up, so that way when you pick them up, they just, you know, kind of swing open. But that is how far these guys will open, and then they close fairly easily. So we'll go ahead and get down to it. So like I said, these are for crimping ferrules. So you're going to have the ferrules with ends or end sleeves on them, or you're just going to have a straight ferrule. Now, of course, we're doing a Knipex video, so I got some of the Knipex ferrules. I was going to just, buy some general ferrules on, go to Amazon and pick some up. But I decided to get these Knipex ferrules since the last time I decided to buy some wire terminals. off of Amazon. They were the completely wrong size for the color that they were matching. So I have some 18 gauge ones. I have some 12 gauge ones, which is a little bit different here. Normally 12 gauge here, 12 and 14 kind of share, or I should say 10 and 12 kind of share the same color, but I guess you guys over in Europe use a little bit different color, so these guys are gray for 12 gauge, and then I have the ferrules for 10 gauge, which are yellow, which generally here in the States for the at least for spade terminals and knife terminals, ring terminals, things like that, you generally can get two different size wires in there, but the 10 gauge ones are yellow, and then the 14 gauge ones are blue. So I'll go ahead and take out ferrule for each. So we'll take out one for the 14 gauge, and then we'll get a couple out. We'll get one out for the 10 gauge, and we'll kind of test out how these crimpers work. So we got two there, and I'll get one of the 12 gauge ones on the side, and then you can get one of the 18 gauge ones. And I think in these packs, if you're looking to purchase these ferrule packs, I think about 100 come in each, maybe a few more with the smaller ones, so you get 200. For the 10 or for the 12 gauge, you get 200, and the 10 gauge you get 100, and for 14 you get 200. So the larger the size you go, the fewer that you're going to get. I'm not sure how many you get if you were to get the ferrules that didn't have the end caps on them. So here are all the different sizes we are going to be testing here. We're probably going to start off with the largest, which is going to be the 10 gauge, and work our way down. So I already did pre-strip some wire just to make this video a little bit shorter. But the one thing that I have noticed with these ferrules compared to just just a standard spade terminal is you do have to strip quite a bit of material off for it to slide on there. Now, for you guys that use these on a daily basis, how do you want to have wire sticking through or sticking out of the end of the ferrule, or do you just want to have just enough sticking out? That's something that I'm not very familiar with. So for the video purpose, we are going to just have it just sticking out just past. And like I said, it's going to be, I believe it's for that middle terminal for the 10 gauge. So we'll go ahead and crimp that guy onto the wire and flip that guy over, and that is the result that we do get on that ferrule, and it is fairly attached. I don't think it's going to be going anywhere or coming off that wire anytime soon. So that is the pattern that it does leave. It's kind of just those two little teeth that push in that metal onto the copper and make it fairly secure. So that was with the 10 gauge stranded wire. Now we're going to go ahead and move into the 12 gauge stranded wire. You can pre-twist the wire on there if you want, or you just strip it and put the wire in. So here I stripped just a little bit extra than needed and have a little bit of wire sticking out. And so we'll put that into, I believe it would be under the, I believe it is the 4 mil, if I'm not mistaken, for 12 stranded, but I could be wrong. Like I said, not something that we typically use here in the States, so I could have my wire gauges kind of mixed up. So go ahead and crimp that onto the wire. And again, there is your two little crimp marks, and that guy isn't coming off. So it does a fairly decent job for just a hand crimper for crimping them ferrules onto the wire. I'm sure you could buy a ratcheting crimper, which would do a lot tighter and probably be a lot faster. But, sometimes you just need to use one that is insulated and you don't want to, risk getting shocked. So we have the 14 gauge wire. So we'll go ahead and slip that guy on there. And the 14 gauge, I believe, would be the just one more up from the 12 gauge, and we'll go ahead and crimp that down. Definitely a lot easier to crimp. The smaller the wire you get, the easier to crimp the ferrule is on there. And then again, there you go. There is your crimp marks for that small wire, and that isn't coming off anytime soon. And then last but not least, we're going to use the one for the 18 gauge wire. This is mainly here in the States. We use this for, at least in heating and cooling, for communication wire or your thermostat wire, pretty much a low voltage wire. I'm not sure what you guys over in Europe or the UK use this for, but that is what we use it for here in the States. And I believe you are going to be using that very second from the top crimping hole for this guy. So we'll go ahead and get him in there. I think I have it in the correct one, and we will crimp down on that, and there you go. Got a nice little crimp on there, and that ferrule isn't going to be coming off. So overall, definitely a interesting pair of pliers here from Knipex. Now these, at least the insulated ones, are not very easily you're not very easily able to find them here in the States. I actually had to order these. I found them on just normal Amazon here in the US, but they did end up shipping from the UK. And these ones didn't come in a box like the majority of the Knipex pliers here in the States do, unless you're ordering them with the SBA packaging. These came in, I could only find them in the SBA packaging, and this is kind of what that packaging looks like, what it came in. Just kind of has some, some pictures kind of to show you what the tool can and can't do. And then the back side of it just kind of gives you instructions. There is a little plastic sleeve on here that holds the plier onto it, so you can't just, take the plier off, or the pliers don't just fall off. So it kind of gives you instructions on where to cut that. And then it can just kind of show you everything that it can do. So it can go from 0.25 millimeters squared up to 16 millimeters squared, and then for us here in the States, it can do 22 to 6 gauge wire. And like I said, definitely not something that's fairly used here in the States. So if you're looking to get the insulated version of these, you're going to have to order them from somewhere over in Europe. Now, I do believe some of the US sellers that sell Knipex products do sell the comfort grip versions of these. I'm not sure if they make a dipped handle of these, but I know they make a comfort grip handle version of these. So if you're looking to pick a pair of these up for yourself, and maybe you don't need the insulated ones, that is another option. But with that being said, I will leave a couple links down in the description below. One will take you on over to the Knipex website if you want to find out some more information about these pliers, and then the others will take you to a few links to purchase these pliers if you want to add them to your toolbox or add them to your collection. But that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching.